to say, we give. The joy of the Lord is knowing who you are in God. Hallelujah. Woo! Hallelujah. The joy of the Lord. When you got joy, you got joy. You can shout and scream to the rooftop and the mountaintop that God is my Lord and Savior. Oh, hallelujah. Woo! Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Woo! Hallelujah. Oh, encompass us with your joy. Encompass us with your love. Encompass us with your spirit. Oh, hallelujah. Yes, Shodobo Sheka. Hallelujah. Sheka, Labo Sheka. He did it else. Somebody else can go Sheka. Oh, thank you. Hallelujah. Ooh, thank you. Bless you. Hallelujah. Thank you. Hallelujah. Well, my name is Mary Ann, and I will be your pulpit conductor for today. I thank God. This morning was an eye-opening experience. The joy of the Lord rain down upon us today. The joy of the Lord rain down upon us this morning. And look, let it open up your heart and let it flow. Flow. Because you will feel the joy, and nothing can take that place. It's like the words can shut up. Nothing can describe the joy of the Lord when He rains down upon you His love. Hallelujah. My Lord, thank you for who you are. Lord God. Woo! All I can say is woo! Hallelujah. So we're going to get ready to open up with our scripture. And our scripture is coming from Psalms 33. Sing for the joy in the Lord, O you righteous ones. Praise is becoming to the upright. Give thanks to the Lord with the lyre. Sing praise to Him with a harp of 10 strings. Sing to Him a new song. Oh, hallelujah. A new song. Play skillfully with a shout of joy. Joy. Hallelujah. For the word of the Lord is upright, and all His work is done in faithfulness. He loves righteousness and justice. The earth is full of loving kindness of the Lord. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We say thank you, Lord, for what you've done. We say thank you, Lord, for the sun that's shining upon us. We say thank you, Lord, for loving us, Lord, Father God. We say Okay, so can we please stand and do our mission and our vision? Our vision. What is our vision? To be the best training and evangelistic ministry in the world. What is our mission? Central Attraction exists for the purpose of glorifying the name of Jesus through worship, Christian discipline, and the proclaiming of the gospel. Hallelujah. What kind of place is it? A progressive and prosperous place, a place of worship to our God, an apostolic and prophetic place, a place of community and international outreach, a place exploding in growth. And what did Jesus say in John 12 and 32? And I, if I be lifted up from the earth, will draw all men unto me. So what are we going to do today? Lift him up. Lift him up. Lift Jesus up. Hallelujah. Hey! Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We lift your name up on high, Lord. We lift your name up on high, Lord. Hallelujah. 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 Oh, yes, we thank you, Lord, for who you are. Oh, I tell you. Woo, the joy of the Lord. The joy is, just the joy. The joy. Yeah. Woo. Yeah. I feel like shouting, but yeah, I'm going to cook it and that's the song. Hallelujah. Oh my God. I'm just going, I'm going to be within my woo. I just say thank you. I just say thank you anyhow, because who you are. Joy. Forget the blanket. This is just pure. This is just rain. This is just fresh rain. Fresh rain. I ain't got to be in the night because he's saying release all of that. Yeah. I want to rain down on you. I want to rain down upon you. I want to rain the joy. Oh, when you got the joy, everything else. Oh, yeah. I got to shout a minute. I just feel good. I feel good this morning. I feel good this morning. So, we're going to have the praise team usher us in a little bit more. And bring us into some more praise and some more joy and some more worship. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. All right. Amen.
Keep going. Praise the Lord. Let's go ahead and stand in the presence of the Lord. We're just going to keep going on that rejoicing and that joy that we feel in the Spirit today. Hallelujah. Let's stand in the house of the Lord. Come on, let's stand up.
Amen. Amen.
That's how we do it. Let's look. We're going to clap the Lord with our hands, worship Him with our words. What He does. I'm going to dance and praise Him. It doesn't matter what comes my way. You're what lives inside of me. In the name of Jesus, I'm going to win more than victorious. I'm there of Jesus, filled with the Holy Ghost. I'm going to dance and praise Him. anybody that want prayer, raise your hands. We'll send some of the ministers out. Hallelujah. Well, he said, where 2 or 3 are gathered in his name, he's in the midst. There's more than 2 or 3 here. He's in the midst. He is in the midst of his people. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Rain on us, Lord.
Thank you, praise team. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Let us not get out of worship. Let us stay in worship for a moment and talk to the Lord and let the joy of the Lord fill your heart, your mind, and your spirit right now so that you can feel the rain. Prophetess prophesied on the rain, and I felt that rain this morning when I came in and we was having Sunday school this morning, and Minister Shawnette said something that just let the floodgates open and heaven just started raining upon me. And I want everyone to feel what I felt this morning. I mean, it was like joy beyond measure. It was so much joy. And I mean, it had me on, I was crying. Y'all just don't know. It looked like sweat, but those were tears of joy because the Lord opened up the floodgates and it just rained pure joy upon me. I want y'all to feel that because when you feel that, your heart, it just melts. All the anger, all the unforgiveness, all the frustration, all the aggravation, all of the things that of this world just melted away. And it just opened up, and I'm telling you, I still feel it. And it's just raining in and washing it out. And when it rains, the rain just purifies and moves everything that is unclean out to where? The sewer. Let's get rid of it. The sewer. Hallelujah. Praise God. He is so good. So this is a time of operations of gifts. The ministers of this house know what is expected of you. If you have seen, sensed, or heard anything, we ask that you come to the mic for the benefit of the body. The benefit of the body. Because we don't know what no one's going through at any given time. And your words might be the words that they need right at that point in time. Please, come to the mic.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As we were in the place of God, in His presence, as I was waving the flag over everyone, I just saw that you needed to release everything that you've been going through all throughout the week, everything that the enemy has been trying to bombard your mind with. You know, God said, release it to me. Do not be afraid to come to me. This is that very time. This is the sweet time in the presence of the Lord. So begin to just release. Even where you are, just release it. I know sometimes we don't get up, all of us, but this is that time to release it to the Lord, whatever it may be. Amen.
Amen.
Praise God.
Praise God.
He's speaking to us this morning. I heard, don't let the shadow of your past into the light of the present or the future glory that will be revealed. And it goes along with what Sister Mary Ann was saying and the other sister, that, don't let the frustrations, the offenses, the unforgiveness, the bitterness of your past into the light of your present. Keep moving forward.
Amen. Spirit. We need the power of the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit, send your anointing. Let it fall down. Fall down. Fall down on me. We need the power of the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit, send your anointing. Let it fall down. Fall down. Fall down. Fall down. Fall down on me. Thank you, Lord. Hallelujah. Thank you. Glory. Thank you. The Lord was saying the first two words from Shar and Brother Dave and now Prophetess Mary. We need to, for a few minutes, raise our hands and soak in that what the Holy Spirit was saying, dealing with bitterness and depression and frustration and all these things that's coming again. Come on, raise your hands. Let the Holy Spirit search your heart. You know it's you. It's you standing in the need of prayer. It's not your mother or father, but it's you. It's not your sister or brother, but it's you. It's not uncle. It's not Bobo or whoever you want to say. It's you standing in the need of prayer. Lord, search my heart. Take those things out that shouldn't be there, Lord. Oh, Jesus, have mercy, oh God. Just have mercy, Lord. Have mercy. The man of God said Friday when he preached, he said we can play this game so nobody know we're depressed because we know how to conceal it and look normal. We know how to smile and laugh and we're depressed. Come on. Let the Holy Ghost deal with your hurt. Let the Holy Ghost deal with the pain. Let the Holy Ghost come into the area where you feel like you've been backstabbed, you've been betrayed, you were bamboozled, they stole from you, they lied on you, they tricked you, they were oppressing you, they were a predator and a parasite. You know, and then you feel like nobody knows what you're going through. But there's so many people have been through the same thing that you have gone through. So recognize you're not the only one. You just hiding. You just hiding. You've been coming out the closet and say, it's me too. It's me too. Yes, I went through that. I went through that. But Jesus is the healer. Jesus is the healer. Not time. Jesus is the healer. He's a healer. Oh, yes, you can go to the therapist, take all kind of pills and drink and do everything. When you wake up, it'll still be there because you never deal with the hurt and the pain. Oh, there is a memory module there. Well, something will pop up and you say, God, where did that come from? Why did I say that? He said, that was a pain that was there all the time. And now they're coming up. Hallelujah. Somebody say, Lord, heal me. I need you to heal me from the inside out, Lord. I'm not going to hide anymore, God. I'm going to talk to you about it. I'm going to give it to you, Lord. I'm going to give it to you. I'm not going to take it back. I'm not going back, God. I'm not going back to the vomit. I'm not going back. I'm not going back to the graveyard. The dig of no dead bones. I'm giving it all to you, Lord. Once and for all, get rid of it. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Stop rehearsing the same old thing. Stop saying that. It's a forbidden conversation. You're not going to talk about it anymore. It's forbidden. It brings some pain back like it just happened yesterday. A forbidden conversation. Bring closure, the Lord is saying. Bring closure. Thank you, Jesus. Did that touch anybody? I know it helped me. Hallelujah. Go ahead, sister.
I would say that just helped me too. As we were doing praise and worship, I felt the presence of God just kind of rest upon me. And so I began to cry out, and I began to talk speak in tongues and just talk in my heavenly language. But as we began to do the altar call, I could see water being stirred as we were walking up to the altar. And so I had my son and I grabbed his hand, and I began to throw all those things that I've been carrying that I didn't realize I was still carrying. So as you were talking about that, I could say me too. But I could see an open heaven, and I could see the Spirit of God he was stirring the water. And I just believe that it was for us to cast those cares into the water. And so I began to do that. And I just would encourage people to do the same. If you are carrying something you have no business carrying, those burdens belong to the Lord.
When you have a prophetic church, we don't sit down here and act religious and clap our hands. Wasn't that nice? No, jump in the water. Somebody needs to jump in the water. I think the other night the floor jumped in the water. Somebody else. He said, the healing water is here. The healing water is here. Jump in, jump in, jump in. Yeah. My faith says jump in the water. Hallelujah. My faith, jump in. Anorexia means loss of appetite of food. So we eating the wrong things and gaining weight when we need to eat the right things. Anorexia is not always bad, but we need to be anorexics in the spirit, because we eating all this junk and putting all this weight on us in the spirit, and we wondering why we so heavy burdened and heavy laden, because we got all this stuff that's dumped on us and we carrying it, when he telling us, like Shalana said, throw it in the water, give it to him, cast your cares upon him. So be anorexic in the spirit, stop being overweight. I heard when we was doing praise and they was singing this song, and Prophet Leona began to say, "One day at a time, Lord." Yeah. And I was reminded of this boy, and his dad was talking, and his dad promised them something. He said, tomorrow, I will give it to you tomorrow. So when the next day got there, the son went to his dad and said, Daddy, what do you have to give me? You said that you would give me something tomorrow. So his dad said to him, son, this is today. Tomorrow never comes. So yesterday may be too late, and tomorrow has not been born. So today, he says, this day, not tomorrow. Don't put it off for tomorrow because it may be too late. So if there is something that you need today, that you know that you need to give God today, because you may not make it to tomorrow. You may not make it to this evening. So if there's something that you need to give to God, you should have came to the altar or jumped in the water. And I still don't believe it's too late for you to do that and give it to God, whatever it is.
We're looking for that scripture. You got one, Marion, one in Peter, but I was looking for the one in Psalms 50 something. Cast thy burden upon the Lord, for he shall sustain thee. Then the word, what is it? Oh, it's 55. 55:22. Can you put that up, Tracy? Psalms 55 and 22. I looked up the word cast. If you're a fisher person out there and you go fishing and you cast your stuff out, you know, that means that you didn't literally throw it away from you. Cast thy burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee, and he shall never suffer the righteous to be moved. He won't cause you to be unstable. He'll stabilize you. But you got to give that to the Lord. My sister Audrey wrote a book that your body was not meant to carry burdens. And when you are carrying burdens, it makes you sick. It stresses out your body. You can get an ulcer, you can get cancer because your whole body gets out of array and all the cells and all the alignment. So cast that upon the Lord, for he shall sustain thee. And then what? The joy of the Lord is your strength. Your joy will come back. Your peace will come back. Yes, it will. And your love will come back. But you got to get rid of that stuff, that yucky stuff. I like what the three students said. Three students said, yup, yup, yup. We got to get rid of the yup, yup, yup. Okay? Let's cast our burdens upon the Lord. Come on, throw them. What was the one in Peter? Was it Peter? 5 and 7. 1 Peter 5 and 7. 1 Peter 5 and 7 is a New Testament reference. So you got two of them. Casting all your care upon him, for he cares for you. So you got to do that. This is two witnesses in the scriptures, casting our care upon him.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Amen. 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 All right, okay, because either you're casting your cares and you're, what's going on here? Amen. Amen. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. All right, Sister Sherry? Where's Sister Sherry? Okay, our announcements for today. Well, our announcements. Well, we know that we do fasting and prayer every Wednesday. And Apostle will be doing prayer at 6 o'clock in the morning beginning tomorrow. So set your alarm clocks for 1 hour from 6 to 7 in the morning. We're praying, okay? All right, and
the prayer line there?
I'm not sure if he's going to do the prayer line or not, but I know he wants everybody praying at 6 in the morning. So wherever you are, you will be praying at 6 o'clock in the morning. He did not give specifics. I think most people are not up, but if you're up, you're doing your exercise. Okay. If you're doing your exercise, if you're having your morning coffee, pause your morning coffee for 1 hour and pray with Apostle and those that he has chosen to pray with him and every Monday morning at 6 a.m. All right. Since we don't have a fresh bulletin, the church picnic. Church picnic was scheduled for August 10th at the Spalding Township grounds, but unfortunately that date has been taken. But fear not, we're still going to have our picnic on August 10th right here at Center of Attraction. Hey! so we're going to do it again. We're going to do it again. All right, so the picnic has not been canceled. It is going to happen on August 10th right here at 4375 South Washington Road. All right, amen. Bible study is every Wednesday at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, because we have prayer and Bible study starts at 11. Night Bible study is at 6 o'clock where we have prayer. We're still fasting and praying on Wednesdays for healing. So if you know anyone that needs healing, you pray for them. And we have been given the authority to declare anything that comes out of our mouth. So we're going to continue to declare healing, mentally, physically, emotionally. We're going to still declare it in the name of Jesus. And our Bible study is at 7. We're beginning Revelation. So if anybody, you want to come on out, we can start Revelation. And it's going to be interesting. We had already started, and prophets have recommended a book, Revelation Unveiled. So if you need it, I found it at the thrift bookstore for $4.99.
You found one?
Yes, ma'am. And so if you want to order it from the thrift bookstore for $4.99, you can. It's going to be a companion with our studies, so that way you can get a better understanding of what you're reading. Most people make Revelation complicated, but you just got to open up your heart and mind to what's going on. September the 19th through the 22nd, we have Worshiping Warriors Fellowship 2019. Every year we do the same thing, and the theme this year is healing in His presence. So many people need to be healed, including ourselves. You know, not just physically, mentally, but emotionally also. We need to be healed. You know, we can't sit here and constantly sit here in pain and don't release that pain. We had spoke about it all morning. So come expecting a miracle, okay? And it's going to be the 19th through the 22nd. We're going to have workshops on Friday at 7 o'clock. Well, the worship explosion. We're on the 21st. We're going to have workshops, and we're going to have physical, spiritual, and all healings and a free lunch. And on Sunday at 11 o'clock during our regular service, we're going to have Minister Jacqueline Jackson from City Gate Church of North Carolina. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Amen. Now, like I said, we don't have our current bulletin, but the word of the month is Joshua 1 and 8. Anybody ready? All right. We did a lot of it last week, so I don't want to put anybody on the spot. But can we put together? All right, we're going to say it together. So that way Apostle knows we're still doing what we should do. All right? Everybody say it together. This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. Hey, hallelujah, amen. Thank God for the reading of His Word, that it continues to strengthen us. So right now it is offering time. If you're making out a check, make it out the Center of Attraction or COA. And if we do have point of sale, so if you want to do a debit card, credit card, you can put your name and the amount you're giving on your envelope, and it will be taken care of for you. And then in the meantime, I'm going to get ready to do Malachi 6 and 8. Thank you, Tracy. Malachi 8 through 10 says, Will a man rob God? Yet you have robbed me. But ye say, Wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. Ye are cursed with a curse, for ye have robbed me, even this whole nation. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in thy house. And prove me now herein, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing that you shall not even have room enough to receive it all. Now, you know, keep that should embody giving right there. If he gonna double your money, triple your money, fill your room that you can't even put nothing else in there. Give, and it shall be given back unto you. All right? Let us get ready to let us all stand so we can get ready to do our tithe and offering affirmation, please. All right. As we give our tithe and offering, say it like you mean it, so you know you're going to come back to you. As we give our tithe and offering, we are believing you, Lord, for jobs and better jobs, wages and bonuses, benefits, sales and commissions, estates and inheritance, interest and income, rebates and returns, checks in the mail, healing and divine health, gifts and surprises, finding money, bills paid off, certificates, debts demolished, royalties received, scholarships and grants, contracts, money management, 100-fold return, according to your word, in Jesus' name. You can follow the direction of the ushers. It's coming from our own prophetess Leon, who's going to teach us some words. So get your pen, your pencil, and your paper ready, because she's going to give you something that you need that's going to sustain you for the rest of the week, for the rest of the month, and possibly the rest of the year. So get ready to receive our prophetess. Amen. Amen. They're bringing a table up, and I'll get one of the guys to bring the chair down. Keenan. Yes. Hallelujah. Didn't we have an awesome service this morning? Yes. Did we have an awesome service this morning? Did y'all receive what y'all need? Amen. Amen. I don't know about y'all, but I'm still feeling joyous. I'm still feeling joyous. I'm feeling joyous. Hey, hallelujah. Amen.
For those that are wondering, we didn't have power since yesterday. So I was back here in the Jarvis trying to fix my hair for me, curl it. Looks pretty good, doesn't she? Did a good job. She back comes, didn't she? You know, it's interesting, no power. So, you know, I was talking to my friend. They didn't have any power, I guess, for a couple of days. They were just getting ready to leave, but they couldn't leave on their trip, a camping trip, because they had no power. And their garage door was open. They couldn't leave. And they didn't have any water either because their pump didn't work for the water to work. So no air conditioning, no, we're spoiled. No air conditioning, you know, no water, can't fix your hair. What should you do? Just lay in bed all day with your hair sticking up, right? I'm just playing, but I thought that was interesting how that storm came through so quickly. I mean, 5-something, there it was. I looked around and said, what is this? It was a storm. So it was suddenly and disconnected. No cell phone, couldn't charge your cell phone. You know, hopefully you have one of those, what do you call those things? You plug up to keep your, one of those power things, yeah, to keep your refrigerator going and free so you don't lose your meat and stuff like that. Yeah, generator. So, you know, we are so blessed, but as Pastor Knight talked to the point, said we got to get off of this dependent on electricity. We need to get us something else. I guess they got these things out nowadays for sun. You can use these sun generators. And do the solar panels, but they got solar generators and cars, you know about that. And so we just need to really seek the face of God. But our dependency on things for power. But God has to be our power source. You think about that. God has to be our power source. And a lot of people are disconnected. And that suddenly happened yesterday. How many people are going to be like the 5 foolish virgins? When Jesus comes back, they're not going to be ready because they have been disconnected from the power. You know, an artificial flower can look good for a while, but after a while it's going to wilt. Amen? So we want to make sure that we stay connected to the vine, that we abide in the Word, and the Word abides in us. Like I said Friday, the man of God said we're good concealers. We're very good concealers. We're depressed, nobody knows it. Did you know there's been pastors all over the country committing suicide? How is it that the pastor is committing suicide and he's the carrier of the Word? Concealing, hiding, not going to nobody. You so secretive and you so strong, you don't need no help. You're deceived. You're going to find out that you need somebody. I need you and you need me. We need one another. See, our strength comes from each other. That's what a fellowship is for. That we're all in the same ship and we're helping one another. When your brother falls, you help pick him up, right? And they said a 3-4 cord is not easily broken. But a person by themselves, left alone, can be destroyed because they have no one to defend them. It's important that you get in a local fellowship, in a local body of Christ, so I can have your back. We can get in the Word together, that we can pray together, and we can fellowship. And guess what happens when your baby dies? You don't have no church home. There's nobody there to help you with food. There's nobody there to help you with the service. We had a friend whose baby died, and we went through that with them. But we were there to help them. We weren't even pastoring yet then, but we helped them walk through that. But when our baby died, 10 pounds, 2 ounces, full term, June 2nd, everybody was there to support us, to help us walk through that event. So you're going to find out that you need the church for weddings, for burials, for fellowship. Amen. See, God ain't called you to be the Lone Ranger, like they said. Even in the Lone Ranger had Tonto. Come on now. So we're going to find that God didn't leave us alone. He gave us the Holy Spirit. He didn't leave us comfortless, without help. He's called the Paraclete, the one called alongside to help us. He walks with us and He lives with us and He abides in us. Did you know, even though we get naughty sometimes, He's still there, but He gets grieved. He has emotions. And you know the Holy Ghost talks. Now, the only reason He's not talking to you because you don't put a muzzle on Him, or you don't know Him. You say, something said to me, I had a hunch. No. Learn to hear the voice of the Spirit. Learn to hear the voice of the Spirit. And you know the way we're going to learn the voice of the Holy Spirit is to spend time in worship, in the Word, praying in tongues, right? The fellowship of Bible study. The number one way that God speaks to us is through the Word. And then we pray in the Spirit, we can hear His voice. And just listening to our mother. Did you know that God speaks to parents?
Yes.
Oh, no, Pastor, no. God ain't speaking to my nasty mama and my papa. Oh, no. You'd be surprised. God will speak through legal authority. Even though you may not think they know that much, they can speak a word in your life and keep you from disaster and destruction. Come on now. They can tell you something, don't go there. You said, Mama told me, and I didn't listen. You know, that's all. Mama told me it's going to be days like this. Mama said. Remember that? So we need to listen. We got to learn the voice of the Holy Spirit. He's there to help us. Even if we don't have a mother or father, He is there to help us. And the apostle's been teaching this, and I've been listening. Last week, did he do a good job on that? That was excellent. I loved it. This has been my baby for about 35 years to teach on the Holy Spirit. When we did our radio broadcast, I did a month's teaching on the Holy Spirit. And a lot of people, we don't understand Him like we should. And we got to spend more time. I think Benny Hinn came out with a book, said, Good Morning, Holy Spirit. How many people read Benny Hinn's book, Good Morning, Holy Spirit? You guys didn't read Benny Hinn's book, Good Morning, Holy Spirit? It's an old book. You should go get it. It's real old, probably $1.99 now, But get that book, Good Morning, Holy Spirit. Because my spiritual mom said, I don't agree with that. I said, well, why? She said, she didn't agree with it. I forgot why. And so I said, well, I'm going to search this out and find out if he's scripturally correct. And I found one scripture that's talked about the communion of the Holy Ghost, that we're supposed to have communion with Him, that fellowship, and talk with Him. We're in His dispensation. You often hear me say it. And Jesus said, I got to go away, and the Father and I in agreement. He's called the promise of the Father. I have to go. But we agree that He's coming. I don't know what's going on, but Jesus and the Holy Spirit couldn't be down here at the same time. Jesus had to go back, the Holy Spirit to come. And when He came, what an explosion on the day of Pentecost. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank You for the word that You're leading and guiding us into all truth, that we may know You so much more than we do, Lord. We want to say thank You for Your goodness and mercy, that He, the Holy Spirit, is raining on us and hovering over us, causing us to bear much fruit. This will be a year of fruitfulness, You said. So we say thank You, Lord, that we're going to stay connected to the power source, connected to the vine. We're going to plug in and not disconnect, and we're going to say, God, feed us until we want no more, until our hearts are totally pure and our spirit sweet, so people can see the glory of God in our life. They can see it. We say thank You right now in Jesus' name. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background. Genesis chapter, let's see. It was in Genesis chapter number 7 I wanted to go to. And it's verse number 10. It came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month. The same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up. This is Genesis 7 and 11. It says, the fountains of the great deep were broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened up. So there were some fountains, underground water source. They had to open up, right? So can you see all that rain coming out of heaven coming down? But then the fountains of the deep opened up, and the whole earth was baptized in water. Can you see that? That's the baptism of the Holy Spirit. It's a precursor. It's symbolic of that. So we can see that. I wanted you to see that. And then I wanted you to go with me to Genesis chapter 11. This is the kind of stuff I did on the radio broadcast. Brought out a lot of truths. I used Derek Prince's book on the baptism. It's excellent. Chapter 11. The whole earth was one language and of one speech. Notice they have one language and one speech. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. First of all, they were disobedient. God had told them not to do that. He told them to move and scatter, but they decided they were going to stay together. And they said to one another, go, let us make brick, and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime they had for mortar. And they said, go, let us build a city and a tower. Some people said they're trying to build a tower to heaven. Lord have mercy. Whose top may reach into the heaven, and let us make a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. So they didn't want to be scattered. They're full of ambition, And so the Lord came down to see the city. Now, why does God have to come down to see the city? God knew what was going on. You know he has watcher angels, right? They report to him. So God came down to see the city and the tower with the children of men built. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one. The people is what? One. That talks about unity, right? And they have all one language. So when I say one language, they all in one place, got a unity, one language, and this they have begun to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do. Now let's talk about sinners. It's not the same, but if they get unity and have the same mind going the same direction, they can do anything, and we're seeing it all over the world. We go to the moon, when a man makes up his mind to do something, man can do it. God's given us creativity. We have a brain. And the animals don't have that kind of brain that we have. Okay, we can create like God, okay? And so listen, God said he had to confound their language. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, they have one language, and this they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. Okay, they had unity of language. Now God comes down and he confounds their language. I don't know what you're saying. You speaking in French, you speaking in Spanish, Italian. Everybody's speaking a different language now. There was no communication. There probably was confusion and fighting and fussing. Right? So it said, the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build a city. So they stopped building that city. Therefore, the name of it is called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth. And from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. So they were scattered because God saw that they were doing the wrong thing. Now, I want you to think about this baptism of the Holy Spirit. We speak in tongues. Why? Why do we speak in tongues? Let's go to Acts chapter 2. Let's go to Acts 2. I want you to think about why we're speaking in tongues. It's just not that we want to have this experience and shake all over and feel so wonderful. But it does feel good to speak in tongues and get edified. That's why I wanted it. I saw somebody, I said, she can speak in tongues. I know I can. I got God and jealous. Okay? Acts chapter 2. First of all, Acts chapter 1. The God said in verse number 8, you shall receive power after the Holy Ghost has come upon you, and you shall be witnesses of me both in Jerusalem and all Judea and all Samaria and to the uttermost parts of the earth. Well, they was up in the upper room how many days? 10 days or more? And they were praying and getting all this stuff out of their spirit. They probably had some good discussions about those brothers that wanted to be the greatest. And they selected another apostle, and things were happening. Let me see, that was chapter 1, verse 14. These all continue with one accord in prayer, supplication with the women. So women were up there in the upper room, Mary, the mother of Jesus, and with his brethren. So it says that in those days, Peter stood in the midst of the disciples, said to the number named together were about 120. There was 120 in the upper room. 120. Women there too, and Mary, the mother of Jesus. The Lord himself has said, don't leave Jerusalem. Acts chapter 1, verse number 2 and 3. You don't leave until the Holy Ghost falls upon you. Well, let's see what happened in chapter 2. And the day of Pentecost was fully come, the 50th day. They were all with one accord in one place. So a lot of times the blessings are missed because you at home looking at TV. How are you going to be in one accord if you're not here? Because you're an intricate part of the puzzle. You're a piece in that puzzle. So you need to be there. Because the Holy Ghost couldn't use you. You don't know who the Holy Ghost don't use. Right? And then suddenly it says, when the day of Pentecost was fully come, and suddenly there came a sound from heaven as of a rushing mighty wind. So when the Holy Ghost came in, it was a sound of wind. That's one of the symbols of the Holy Spirit. And it filled the house where they were sitting. So could they see the Holy Ghost? What did they felt the wind? A rushing mighty wind? So they knew something was happening. And there appeared unto them cloven tongues. Some say it's like a little fire over their head, like a tongue, like as a fire, and it sat on each of them. Well, the teaching is that each of them, while the fire was sitting upon each of them, that when the Holy Ghost comes upon you, He ignites gifts in you. He brings out the best in you. Things that could have been dormant, the Holy Ghost will bring up. One of my friends said she was a horrible cook and a housekeeper. And when she got saved through the Holy Ghost, also she could cook in a house look nice now. She could make anything with her hand. The Holy Ghost did something inside of her, caused some gifts to come out that she didn't know that was there. They were dormant. And so, cloven tongues like as a fire, and sat upon each of them. Everybody say, Holy Ghost, sit upon me. I need the cloven tongues. I need the fire. Thank you, Lord. Breathe it in and receive it. Thank you, Jesus. And it says they were all filled with the Holy Ghost and began to do what? They were all filled with the Holy Ghost and began to speak with other tongues as the Spirit gave them utterance. The Spirit gave them the words. But they did the talking. See, we want the Holy Spirit to come down and go like this. Take our lips and go. Oh, no, not going to come down and take your lips. You speak and the Holy Spirit gives you the words. You know, when we used to start having tarrying service, I've been filled with the Holy Ghost over 40-some years, and it was my little Baptist friend that I was looking at who was speaking in tongues very fluently. And I said, that little Baptist girl got the Holy Ghost. I know I can have the Holy Ghost. Yeah. We would go, you know, she was visiting the church I went to, and she was a powerful woman of God. That woman taught me how to pray. Sharon Stokes in Lansing, Michigan. My best friend in my wedding and everything. She told me, she said, Leona, you know you talk a lot, but you don't pray a lot. And I got convicted and got Kenneth Hagin's book on 26 lessons how to pray. And the Lord taught me how to pray and not talk. Come on now. And the same book, they got a book on the Holy Ghost by Kenneth Hagin with all those good lessons. They'll teach you every aspect what I am teaching you. Okay? And so, got filled with the Holy Ghost. Somebody say, filled with the Holy Ghost. Say, get filled with the Holy Ghost. We ain't talking about tongues yet. Get filled with the Holy Ghost. And they begin to speak with other tongues. So when you feel, what'll happen? Someone talk to me. If you feel, what'll happen? You'll speak in tongues. When you read your scriptures, it didn't say they were filled with the Holy Ghost and clap their hands. It didn't say they were filled with the Holy Ghost and dance. It didn't say that. Although those things can happen. But the initial evidence of 3 scriptures I can show to you, they were filled with the Holy Ghost and they spake in tongues and magnified God. They prophesied, they magnified God. So we understand the initial evidence. Everybody say initial evidence is speaking in tongues. Why do you think the devil's fighting tongues? Why do you think the devil's fighting tongues? He wants you to believe, well, I can have the Holy Ghost, I just don't want the tongues. Give me the Holy Spirit, but not the tongues. This ain't no smorgasbord, board, have what you want, have it your way. This is God's idea. Somebody say, this is God's idea. You need to pray in the Holy Ghost. He said, you shall receive what? Power after the Holy Ghost has come upon you. Why do you think these psychics are coming out the woodworks and this hoodoo and these voodoos and the tarot cards and these lucky rabbit's foot? You know, like I say all the time. My daddy said the rabbit was so lucky why he did. Don't have a foot in that funny. Or mojos. We had a member who had a mojo. He paid about $400 for it. And when he got shot 5 times and laid on the ground dead, and he came back to life through a miracle. All his blood was out of his body. He came back to life. He went through that mojo in Saginaw River. Because it wasn't doing no good. We got to trust in God. Satan has given us counterfeits. But we got the real deal. We have the Holy Spirit. Now, let me just turn for a page. Y'all let me be Leona and let me be myself, okay? Okay, everybody want me to be different. I remember when I worked at TCT and I took Apostle James' job. You know, Apostle James is so organized, so neat. They came into my office and said, oh, you ain't him. I said, no, I ain't. I'm not him. You know, I said, I had a pile of papers there going through them, but different personalities. Different strokes for different folks. But you get your job done. Amen? So in, let me see, the scripture I'm looking for, I think it's in Romans chapter 8. Turn to Romans chapter 8. Let's go to verse number 9. This is what will get a lot of people confused. Some people are saying you're not even saved unless you speak in tongues. That's not what we're saying. Every believer who has received the Lord Jesus Christ as Savior, the Holy Spirit took them into the body of Christ. I can show you that scripture too. It's the Holy Spirit that did the regeneration. Titus 3 and 5. And so it says here, verse number 9, ye are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit. If so be that the Spirit of God dwell in you. Now, if any man have not the Spirit of Christ, he is none of his. So how did the Spirit of Christ come in you? Say to them, when I got saved, when I asked Jesus to come into my heart, that's how the Holy Spirit came within me. So it's very important to know that you already have the Holy Spirit. That the Holy Spirit is not for people not saved. It's not for sinners. This is for saints. So you shall receive power after the Holy Ghost comes upon you. Somebody say inflow. Outflow. Inflow salvation. Outflow power. I'm already saved. I'm a candidate for the power. When I got saved, I got water baptized. And now I'm ready for the Holy Ghost. For the outflow. God needs some power. He said don't go anywhere until you get the power. We got people trying to go without the power. Or they think they have mastered this now and they know what they're doing. St. John chapter 7. I'm still to play a little foundation and take my time. Because I want you to see this. Because to me this is important teaching. The tongues aspect is that we all speak in the same tongues. Let me just backtrack for a minute because I forgot something. That we speak in tongues of men in the heaven, of men, of angels in heaven, and that when we speak in tongues, it brings unity. We speak in the language of heaven now. Doesn't it make sense? Why would you not speak in tongues when you're from heaven? If we're from heaven, we speak the language of heaven. We should be speaking God's language. I was thinking about, doing the era with the Russians and we did the Cold War. There was a red phone at the White House and a red phone in the Kremlin. If there was any problems, the president could pick up immediately and talk to the Russian president on the red phone. There's a hotline. We got a hotline of heaven in us. We can pray the perfect prayer. And God knows what you're saying. God knows what you're saying. The devil don't even know what you're saying because you're speaking in tongues of men and of angels. You got a hotline to heaven. And we don't need the help because we're in a warfare. Listen, we're in a warfare. We're in a warfare. Satan is coming against us. And it's getting worse. It's getting worse. I've never seen so much evil in my life. I've never seen so much craziness. And they teach values, clarification, and humanism, and they call it good, evil good, and they telling us that we're the haters, but they the haters. And they want to put the muzzle over the church. This is the church of the Lord Jesus Christ. We get our strength from Jesus. Our strength is in the Lord. We need the Holy Ghost to fight in this battle. Okay, I got that out. Now I feel better. I had forgot that part. St. John chapter 7. St. John chapter 7. Jesus was at the feast. And verse number 37. In the last day of that great day of the feast, Jesus stood, cried, saying, if any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink. So he said, if any man is thirsty, let him come unto me and drink. You always know when you see that drink in the scripture, it's talking about salvation. It's the drink of salvation. If you're thirsty, take a drink. Take a drink of salvation. So he's saying, any man thirst, let him come unto me and drink. And he that believeth on me, as the scripture has said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. Know this, he that believeth, you got to believe. If you have believed on Jesus, have you gotten saved? Yes, because you have to believe with your heart and confession is made into salvation. And out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. What is that rivers of living water? What is the rivers of living water? Well, let's look and see what the scripture says. But this spake he of yet been crucified. He hadn't gone to the cross. He hadn't died yet. He had to get up. He had to go back to the Father so the Holy Ghost could come. Right? The Holy Ghost was not yet given because Jesus was not yet glorified. But when Jesus was glorified, he said, I'm sending the Comforter. I'm sending back the Comforter. And he's going to lead and guide you to all truth and show you things to come. He's going to convict you of all unrighteousness. He's going to quicken you according to the word. He's going to show you things to come. He's going to live and abide in you. The world can't see him. The world don't know him, but you know him because he lives in you. And this same Holy Ghost will bear witness in you that you are sons of God, that you are a daughter of God. The Holy Ghost does a lot. We're in his dispensation. He'll bring all things to your remembrance. But how can he bring it to your remembrance if you never read it, never studied it? The statistics right now are saying that Christians are not reading their word. They're not praying. That people go to church when they feel like it. How can the Holy Ghost help us in times like this when the days are getting so evil? And listen to me. We let our children do what they want to. We let our children raise themselves. They got home box in their room. They all got TVs and PlayStations, and they playing violent games. And we're dealing with violence and profanity all over the place and all type of sexual sin because our kids are watching the wrong thing. And the TVs become the preacher. And the Bible talks about the doctrines of devils. And what we're seeing on much of the TV shows, they make fun of Christians. We are seeing the doctrine of devils. We need the Holy Ghost to help us have discernment. So we need the Holy Spirit. See, did I miss anything, Lord? Well, we need to understand why it's so important to be filled with the Holy Spirit. Don't go a day without speaking in tongues, praying in your most holy faith, getting built up in the Holy Ghost. We got to pray in the Spirit. See, the devil wants you to think it's stupid. All you do is cluck and cluck, 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 cluck. He wants you to think it's stupid. But we have to speak the Holy Spirit language. Okay, go to Acts chapter 2, verse 4. I'm looking at my paper now. They were all filled with the Holy Ghost and began to speak with other tongues as the Spirit gave them utterance. I remember we was taking my sister Audrey to church. We were filled with the Holy Spirit. It was taking her a long time to get filled because she was struggling. She's trying to get it. You know, she's trying to work it up herself. Calm down, relax, worship. They happened to Evangelist Coffin, who's a great prophetess today. Same thing with her. She received the Holy Ghost in the choir at church, Christ Community, in the choir stand as we were singing and worshiping. She received. Following we got Audrey to calm down, she received. Because there should be no pressure. You're not trying to prove yourself. The Holy Spirit gives you the words. You do the talking, but the Spirit, you can hear the Spirit talking sometimes, but you're scared, so you go back to say thank you, Jesus, and praise the Lord, and you won't let him speak. But you got to give him a voice. Do y'all hear me? You got to give the Holy Spirit a voice. My mother, who was a very godly woman, my grandfather pastored for over 50 years down south in the Methodist Church. He married my grandmother, who was a school teacher. She taught him how to read and write. And then he went to Bible school during the summer. And then he would come back home. He would carry mama over his shoulder. She was real tall. Her legs be hitting the ground. But that man got him a Bible degree and became a great preacher. And my mother said she never knew sin. She never been to a party. She never went to nothing because she believed in holiness. She said, you don't miss stuff you never had. And so she was in an environment of holiness. And she wanted us to understand holiness. But she was prom. She was very prim, and you know how my mother's very classy. She believed that she always correct you on your English. Now, you know you're not supposed to be saying that. I would say one word all the time. Now, don't say that. Okay, you know better than that. She was perfect with English. She could write an English paper. She could do anything in the English book. As a school teacher, she was an A+ teacher. I wish I had been in her classes. And so we brought Mike McCann to the YMCA when our church was there. And Pastor Evelyn was there. And Evelyn was a sweet little Baptist girl that knew the word and loved Jesus. Well, he came in and laid hands on Evelyn. And she started speaking in tongues like she's been speaking all her life. I said, who is that? He said, Evelyn. I said, Evelyn. And then he laid hands on my mama. And my mama started speaking in tongues too. See, all those years, Mama was raised right. She taught right. She read a devotion every day, 2 or 3 devotions. Her Bible study, her Sunday school lesson. She was in the Word and a prayer warrior. But no one had never taught her how to release the Holy Ghost. And all of a sudden, when the man of God laid hands on her, she started speaking in tongues. I said, God, that's what there was when Mama be at church and raised her hand and I could feel the anointing. But she wasn't taught to release. See, we ain't been taught it. Or some people are teaching it in error. They're trying to say you ain't saved unless you speak in tongues. I was talking to one lady. She told me something. I said, oh, that's your secret? Mm-hmm. She told me her secret was everybody was baptized in Jesus' name. I said, well, I had a friend baptized 3 or 4 times in Jesus' name, and she still was living sinful. So what you got to say about that? It's not the water baptism that saves you. It's your heart being right with God. You got to submit to God and resist the devil. There's some Baptists a little better, and some I don't hate to say it, some Catholics a little better than a lot of Holy Ghost filled people. Because there's somebody saved in every church. They love Jesus and they serious. I don't care what the rest of them doing. I ain't doing it. That's what you got to have a made up mind. The Holy Ghost will have you get a made up mind. How is it that you got the Holy Ghost and can't obey God? Say you got the Holy Ghost and double back. Don't submit to your mama. Don't do nothing your mama say. Like Shirley Caesar said, her mama said she playing with God, but this time she got it. Because she said she was still going to church and disrespecting her mama, talking back. But one day the Holy Ghost got a hold of her. See, the Holy Ghost has got to get a hold of you. That's what happened to me when I was on college campus. The Holy Ghost got a hold of me. I went to the church one night and my heart wasn't right, but the Holy Ghost got a hold of me. I came back a new Leona, a different person, a person praising and dancing, not depressed and disgusted and busted. I came back with a praise life and a prayer life. So you gotta speak in tongues, everybody. Somebody give me a clock, y'all know I can preach 2 hours now. Y'all know if I got a flow in me, I feel it, I can go. It's 12:50. We only got about 15 minutes or so. Because we're going to go over to Christ Community and join in if they still there. Knowing them, they still just at the front part of the service. I went every day to the revival this week. I went 3 days. Woo! So I'm here in Jesus' name. But the Lord did something. I heard the Holy Spirit say when I was over there, healing is the children's bread. Deliverance is the children's bread. And that's what he spoke for the whole 3 days. People were getting miracles from depression. Young people depressed. I think my little niece, I don't know how old she is, she was 12. She came up, she wanted to know how to hear the voice of God. A 12-year-old want to know how to hear the voice of God. How you hear the voice of God, you got to begin to pray in the Holy Ghost. Get a relationship with Him. You got to get in the Word. You got to be in the Holy Ghost environment. You got to be around mature people. You can't be around people playing games. If they try to live a double life, you know it. You ain't got time for that. Leave homeboy alone, homegirl alone. See ya. It's your snake. Bye-bye. Don't need to be bothered with that. Now this one, if I may stop at this one, I don't know. 1 Corinthians chapter 14 talks about the gifts. I'm not going to the gifts. Apostles been doing that. I'm talking about 10 reasons why every believer should speak in tongues. It's initial evidence. We talked about that. Now it's the means of spiritual edification or building up. 1 Corinthians 14 and start with verse number 1 really. Follow after charity and desire spiritual gifts. See, you got to desire spiritual gifts. Follow after love and desire spiritual gifts, but rather that you may prophesy. He wants all of us to prophesy. He wants all God's people to be prophets. I think was that Moses said that in the Old Testament. He wanted all God's people to prophesy and be prophets. Well, we're now able to prophesy. For he that speaketh in an unknown tongue speaketh not unto men. So are we speaking to each other? If you speak in an unknown tongue, who are you speaking to? That's right. To who? God. Is that good? Yes. It sounds like that's good. Yes. So if you speak in an unknown tongue, you're speaking to God. And it says, for no man understandeth him, for this one no one understandeth him, how being in the Spirit, he speaketh mysteries. So you can build yourself up in your most holy faith. It's called a devotion tongue, the inflow. We all have a devotional tongue, or we call it praying in the Spirit. This is not the gift of tongue that has to be interpreted. This is your devotional tongue that you can sit there very quiet. I remember when I got stayed on college campus, this one little girl, she was Hispanic, and worked with a sweet little Hispanic lady who was saved, filled with the Spirit. And she said, she wants a husband really bad. So all she do is sit in church and pray in tongues, very quietly to herself. She wasn't disturbing nobody, but she was praying in the Spirit the whole service. So you can build up yourself in your most holy faith. You can pray in tongues to yourself. How deep in the Spirit he speaketh mysteries. But he that prophesied speaketh unto men to edification. So if you prophesy, you're going to edify or encourage somebody, exhort and comfort. Now look at verse 3. It has three important words in there. Edification. You edify means to build up. Exhort is like a cheerleader, an encourager. And then it says comfort. You feel better. So these are the parameters. I like to draw a box. These are the parameters for New Testament prophecy. It says what? Comfort, edify, and exhort. If you get out of that box and start rebuking and correcting like some people think, they're in the office of the prophet or the pastor. Let me do it. I will do it when the Lord say do it, not just jump up and do something. Right? I bet people go correct people and I said, I saw it, but I didn't think it was the time, and I wasn't supposed to say anything. How is it you ain't the pastor and you doing this? Huh? So that's the parameters of prophecy. You can pray in the Spirit, and you hear a word from the Lord. Let me go back to Romans 12, because that's the foundational scripture. You have to be able to prophesy according to the measure of your faith. So faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So what you have to do is stay in the word, so the Spirit will pick up and give you a couple of scriptures, or may give you one word from a scripture, and you hear like, Jesus loves me. That's scripturally correct. I can say that's okay. There's nothing bad about that, right? So that is Romans chapter 12, verse number 6. Having then gifts differing according to the grace that is given to us. All of us have different gifts because God's Holy Spirit gives us those gifts according to the grace that is given to us. Whether prophecy, let us prophesy according to the proportion of faith. Your faith level, your word level. You prophesy according to the proportion of your faith. Listen, I was in Flint and Kenneth Hagin was there. The man prophesied a whole hour. Dad Hagin did. It was awesome and amazing. Well, I think he was maybe in his 70s or 80s then. According to the proportion of your faith. So you may hear a word. Everybody close their eyes and pray in the Spirit. Come on, pray in the Spirit. I want you to hear something. I want you to see. This is according to your faith. You have the Word of God in you. We are all saved. That He's given to every one of us the measure of faith. We all have been dealt in measure of faith. That's verse 3. Hallelujah. Because of the grace of God that's in us. Thank you for the Chrismata, for the grace that's in us, God. We can hear your voice, and strange we won't follow. What do you see and what do you hear? Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for speaking to us, Lord. Hallelujah. Does anybody have a word yet? Did you see something? Did you hear something? Bobby?
I am as close to you as the breath that you breathe. Then he said, oh, I am the breath that you breathe.
Wow, write that down. That's good. Did you hear that? I probably need somebody to take the mic around so people can hear it. Okay, Tracy, you have one?
Yeah, I saw when God wrote on the wall. He wrote on the wall with his hand, and it took me back to when the devil was trying to tempt Jesus, and he said, "It is written, man will not live by bread alone, but every word that come out through the mouth of God."
Okay, you want to start again because we missed the first part.
It was in the Old Testament where he wrote on the wall. He was writing on the wall.
Okay.
I saw that. And then when devil was tempting Jesus, and he said, it is written that man will not live by the but they
Man should not live by bread alone.
bread alone. Bread alone, but every word that come out of the mouth of God.
Good. Now, this is what I want you to do. Ask God why he gave you that vision. And that's the next step. Sometimes it's easy, explainable, but sometimes you got to ask God. Even about a dream you had. God, what did that dream mean? People want me to come and give interpretation. I said, it's your dream. You see God. Ask God what he's saying to you. Because I can give you the wrong interpretation, okay?
I have a little issue, but as you were talking, I had my eyes closed, and I seen this really tall, wasn't even a tree, it was just a big, rounded part.
Oh, like this. Okay.
And there was a white sheet going up, not down, but it was going up, covering that big post way up to heaven.
Okay. Did you ask God what it meant?
Not really.
Okay, well, you think about it, pray in the Spirit. Come on, Mike, you next. Mike got something to say.
I've been with you the whole time, and that I'll never leave you nor forsake you.
Now that's good. Did you need that encouragement? Okay. Anybody else on this side? She's over there. Okay, Marianne, she come back to anybody else? Okay. She had to say the same thing she did.
Yeah, when I saw this, like out of the old tree where it was school.
Oh, you got a picture, didn't you?
Actually, it was green. Around
And
it.
she saw a tree too. Oh, wow. Two people got a tree.
But it was pretty green.
Okay.
Cool.
You know, trees are positive in the scripture. You can study trees out. But we're supposed to be like the trees of Lebanon, like an oak tree. Okay.
I just heard this again. The Lord, when I got up to do what I heard, I just heard the Lord say, we need the power of the Holy Spirit. Many people are not exercising their gift right now. It's lying dormant. And they're trying to succumb to other people and how they feel and how they look at them. But the gift is supposed to work. And God gave you that gift, the power of the Holy Ghost. And if you're not using it, especially in prayer and seeking God's face, you know, what's the sense of having a gift if you don't use it?
But first you got to seek God first. Right? Marianne had her hand up over here. Anybody else over here? Sherry, Gina, This is called an activation. When you activate the gifts, you pray in the Spirit, and then you listen, and then you see. I went to a class on this, cost $500. Y'all getting it for free.
I heard the word forgiveness, and I saw Jesus standing with his hands out, welcoming with a smile, and I just felt comfort and love.
But you heard forgiveness first.
Yes, I heard forgiveness.
So that comfort and love will be released if you forgive. Okay.
I saw some things I didn't really understand, and I'm just listening to hear further. But what I saw was a room that was built out. It was wood all the way, the top. I could just see really like a corner, and the one wall and the other wall. But I saw this room. It was wood. It was kind of an aged wood, but it was like sap seeping through all of it, and then past it, I could see like just trees out. And so, a lot of times I don't like to share because I don't understand.
Sometimes we don't understand. Let's tell the truth. But you just keep praying about it. Sometimes you can have a dream 3 times, 3 or 4 times, the same dream over and over. God, what does that mean? And you don't get nothing till one day all of a sudden something happened, and then he puts it all together. He said, oh, I see now, Lord. Sometimes we don't see stuff at the beginning. Okay, but you still write it down and date it. They taught us in the school of the prophets, put stuff on the shelf. Put it on the shelf, and you don't know what it means. Put it on the shelf. Sometimes you get a prophetic word, you say, what was that? Put it on the shelf. Got to be 2 to 3 witnesses. You go to mature saints, spiritual fathers and mothers, and say, judge this word. So you got, we have watchmen to help us. Apostle prays a lot, all the time. He's always doing something. Yesterday he was in Monroe, Michigan, down there, and he'd get home at 11. And he had already done a class here at church. He's somewhere this morning.
All I heard was, it's done.
What did you sense? Completion. Remember the Holy Spirit, when he moves through sensing, an inner prompting. You feel something, a peace. You can feel a red light. Oh, I don't think I should be doing this. Each time you feel a green light, oh, this is okay. You got to learn how to listen to the Holy Spirit. He moves with promptings. I did a workshop on this. How the Holy Spirit speaks. His language, pictures. What do you see? You got to read your Old Testament. He said, what did you see, son of man? I see this. He said, you have spoken well. Read what the prophets said and what the prophets did. What do you see? Okay? Anybody else? Yes.
I heard the Holy Spirit say, I am the healer. I am the healer. I am the deliverer. I am.
Okay. It's Philippians for you, for me, or for who? For everybody here? Everybody. I am your healer. I am the deliverer. So you can practice this at home, the activation. Pray in the Spirit. Worship. I tell you, Eras, I was singing that song, you know my name. I was just worshiping. The last couple of days was worshiping. And keep the worship mode going, and you will hear his voice quicker. Little people, come on, teenagers, we definitely can't afford to make mistakes. Huh? That boy is not your boyfriend. Leave him alone. He's gonna hurt you. That's just a friend, acquaintance. You gotta learn how to hear the voice of God, even through your parent. I remember I was dating this guy. He was kind of cute too, real cute, light skin with all that hair, real fine looking. So I'm thinking, oh, this is the one. But my mama said something about him ain't right. I said, Mama said? And Mama was right. Y'all hear me? Learn to listen to your parents. The voice of God can be in them. And you're looking for a witness. It came through your leadership, your mom and dad. So stop listening to your friends. I think we'll close out here. I think I've done enough on that one. And you have that sheep tongues are the supernatural evidence of the Holy Spirit's indwelling. There's the scriptures, and we can finish this next time. And I got Bible studies for you on the baptism of the Holy Spirit. That has my main copies of this one. How many sheets? Front and back, not too much. And I got, this is a shorter Bible study on the Holy Ghost. This is what I want to let you know. You're going to have to study to show yourself approved. People come up, we lay hands for them to receive the Holy Spirit. You know what happens? They don't receive by sight. They're afraid. They're full of fear or full of tradition, and they're not receiving. But you can receive the Holy Spirit and flow in the gifts, and God can use you in the marketplace. Wherever you go, you can be used of God. But we will train you first. I don't believe in craziness. I don't believe in running with the gifts without a foundation of the Word. And that you have to be subject to your leadership, submitted in the house. You don't get the gifts and to go just buck wild and running all over the place and getting cards published with your name on and calling yourself whatever. I don't believe in that. We don't see too many shipwrecks and people hurt because somebody gave them a false prophecy. I remember one person was so bold, they called a person I knew a fornicator and a bad word, and it was all a lie. And he did this publicly, trying to move in the gifts and say he was a prophet. Yeah, he was a profiteer. That's what he was. He wasn't a real prophet. You can destroy someone with a prophecy. So we want to make sure we're doing it right. I'll be here. We'll work on some days where we just do Bible study. Not Sunday morning, maybe a Tuesday. I'll open up. You want to do the Bible study with me? We'll go through the scriptures. We'll study all the scriptures on each one of these. The word of knowledge, the word of wisdom, the word of revelation, all these different ones. There's so many scriptures you have to know and say, oh, that's how that works. That's how that works. Here's an example. So we make sure we do that. Father, in Jesus' name, we thank you for the Holy Spirit has come. He's the comforter. And you said, Lord, in St. Luke's chapter 11, that if we ask you for the Holy Spirit, you will give us the Holy Spirit. You won't give us anything else. We don't have to be afraid. We don't have to be afraid. You promised us the Holy Spirit if we ask you for it. St. Luke's chapter 11. Verse number 11. If a son shall ask the bread of any of you that is a father, will he give him a stone? If he asks of a fish, will he for a fish give him a serpent? Or if he shall ask for an egg, will he offer him a scorpion? If ye being evil know how to give good gifts unto your children, how much more shall your heavenly Father give the Holy Spirit to them that asked him? He said, ask me for the Holy Spirit, and I will give you the Holy Spirit. Evil people bless their children. How much more will your heavenly Father give you the greatest blessing in the world, the baptism of the Holy Spirit, the overflow, the outflow of power, inflow salvation, outflow power. I want the Holy Spirit. I want more of you, God. I want to know you, Lord. How many are agreeing with what I'm saying? I want to know He's the Holy Spirit more. Fill me again, God. Fill me with the Holy Spirit. Let there be enlargement of my territory. Enlarge my heart, God. I want to be more like you, Lord. Sensitive and caring like He's the Holy Spirit. A comforter full of compassion. Thank you, Lord, for He's the Holy Spirit living and abiding in me and showing me things to come. You won't let anything come upon us, God. Order our footsteps in your word. Let none of them slide in the name of Jesus. Hallelujah.
Is there anyone
everyone that that is not a member that want to join our church, you can step up or stand up or raise your hand. Everybody saved? Everybody saved? Nobody needs prayer for anything? Okay. Well, we're ready to dismiss them. As we get ready to dismiss, before we get ready to dismiss, I would like to, a couple of the guys to, Apostle gave me the assignment that I need some of the men folk to help us out removing a counter from the back room and moving into the barn. So I see quite a few able men around here. Michael and Dave and Michael and AJ and oh yeah, they go down on me. Okay, I'm not forgetting you, young man. All right, so yeah, we're gonna move all of that out of there. Hallelujah, praise God. I was seeing the Lord answers prayer, and I was praying because none of our guys showed up this morning. Then all of a sudden, men just start coming in. I said, praise God, He answered my prayer. Hallelujah, thank you, Jesus. So we're gonna get ready to dismiss. The Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make His face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift up His countenance upon thee and give thee peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I shall bless them. God bless, go in peace, and keep Jesus the center of your attraction. Amen.